page 8, number 34. I was here yesterday, but I've been marked absent.
Table office, kindly take note. Yes, Honorable.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Samson, he was here yesterday. I was with him in the chamber. There's also been marked absent. That's number 4, page 7.
Page 7.
Right, Honorable Speaker. Page 8, number 29. I was here yesterday. But it has my name as absent.
Honorable Member, may I get your name and constituency?
Dorcas Tolfe. From Jomoro. Sorry.
Sorry?
My name. Dorcas Tolfe.
The number is?
Page 8, number 29. That's it.
Table office, kindly take note.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
That's the Honorable Member from Jomro. Yes.
Right, Honorable Speaker. Page 8, number 21. Odampton Isaac Ashai, but marked absent.
Yes, you were present yesterday. Table office, take note. Yes.
Speaker, Eric Opoku, page 822, was here yesterday, but he's been marked absent.
You are referring to number 22. Number 22. Table office, take note.
No word.
Yes.
Sit down first. Sit down first.
Speaker. Item 7, page 8. I was here, but my name is marked absent. And same applies to item 9 on the same page.
Honorable Member, you are referring to number 9, number 7.
Yes, yes.
Not item 9, item
Yes,
7.
number 7, number 8.
Yes.
Yes.
Table office, kindly take note. Yes.
Okay.
Honorable Speaker, number 26, Queen Star Pokuya Sawyer, Aguna East was number 35, Edwin Hill Lanteva Depoy, Odo was also present yesterday. Thank you.
Table office, please take note. Yes.
Speaker, number 30, Tobu Peter Lanchene was also present yesterday, but was not absent.
Table office number 30, page 8, take note. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, my name is David Bondi Fifo Etimokwa. With the greatest of respect, page 8, number 36. My name is there as being absent, but I was present. Mr. Speaker.
Yes, table office, take note. Yes, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, on page 8, number 16, Honorable Kodo Benjamin, Rose Central. He was in the chamber yesterday, but he's been marked absent. As well as Honorable Sawyer Insta. She was also present yesterday, but she's been absent, so if the table office can do the necessary corrections.
20 and 22. Add 20 and 22.
Number 26 has already been corrected. So table office, take note of number 16. Yes.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Page 8, number 38. Honorable William was in the chamber yesterday, but he was represented here absent. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Noted. Table office, please. Yes, Honorable.
Well, Honorable Speaker, 8, number 32, Chumberi Mwapola Preku. I was present, but I've been marked absent.
Table office, the honorable member for Doma East. Take note of that. Yes.
Honorable Speaker, page 8, number 20. Not by Ernest. I was with him yesterday, but I think he's been marked absent.
You said you were with him yesterday.
He was here in the chamber yesterday. Thank
Yes.
you.
The table office, take note.
Honorable Speaker, page 8, number 37. What by Daniel Nsala? I was here, but I've been marked absent.
Table office, take note. Number 37, page 8. Yes. You want a second?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, page 8. Honorable Nogbe was here yesterday. Honorable Opoku Eric was here. Honorable William Kwabena was also here. So it can be corrected.
Honorable member, that has already been corrected. Both names have already been mentioned earlier on, and I directed the table office to take note. Page 9. Page 10. Page 11. Page 12. Yes.
Mr. Speaker, page 12, number 26. My name is spelled with double L, not one L. Gizella. Thank you very much.
Honorable member, you said page 12. Your name is spelled with.
Yes, Honorable Speaker. In the table for the Appointments Committee, name number 26 is double L. Gizella, Gizella. Thank you very much.
Table office, please try and get the correct spelling of the names of honorable members. Number 26, page 12. Number 26. Page 13. Page, honorable members, in the, yes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I'm free to submit that many of the corrections which
were enunciated by colleagues were as a result of the delay of the circulation of the attendance list yesterday. And with all due respect, I wish to implore you to inform the table office to be prompt and punctual in making the attendance list available for members to sign. I believe this will save us time for us to engage and conduct an important business for which we are here on behalf of the good people of Ghana. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Well, I don't know what attendance list you are talking of. We have gone over this issue so many times, and the table office have been directed by earlier speakers to rely on attendance on the floor of the House, not any list that has been placed somewhere, where members come and sign and are not seen on the floor of the House. So they've been directed, the table office have been directed to observe the attendance. The difference now is that we have many fresh faces, and so they are having difficulty in capturing. That is the challenge you have to go through. But if you come and sign any document outside the floor of the House and think that you have attended parliamentary proceedings, you'll be marked absent. You must be present on the floor to participate in what is happening before you could be marked as having attended parliamentary proceedings that day. But that is a good reminder, and I thank you for that. In the absence of any further corrections, the votes and proceedings of the second sitting of the first meeting of the first session held on Tuesday, 19th January 2021, as corrected, are adopted as a true record of proceedings. Honourable members, I noticed that there are some mistakes in what I've been given. That's why I was pausing and correcting them. To remove item 4, since we don't have the official report, we look at item 4. Honourable members, we don't have any statement before us, and I haven't admitted any statement. So we move to the commencement of public business. Item 5, presentation of papers. The following paper to be presented by the leadership of the House. Leadership is a report not ready. Report of leadership on the formula for composition of parliamentary delegations and other parliamentary groups and associations.
Speaker, unfortunately, I couldn't be here yesterday, but I'm informed that this report is not ready yet. So we can stand it down until maybe tomorrow.
Item 5 accordingly stood down. We hope and pray that it will be ready by tomorrow. So we take item 6, private members' motion, standing in the name of Honorable Mahama Ayarga. Honorable member, you may move your motion now.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, with your indulgence, I beg to move that this House resolves to request the President of the Republic of Ghana to take urgent steps to suspend the payment of admission fees by new entrants into public tertiary education institutions and continuing students of those institutions for the 2021 academic year as part of the national COVID-19 relief programs being implemented by government. Mr. Speaker, permit me to amend the motion by correcting the academic year. The academic year is in fact 2020-2021 academic year. Mr. Speaker, in moving the motion, permit me to provide arguments based on which I urge this House to support the motion. Mr. Speaker, the motion, as you have admitted, is clear that we are asking His Excellency the President to take urgent steps to suspend the payment of fees by tertiary education students and applicants to tertiary education institutions who have been offered admissions. Mr. Speaker, those fees are spelled out in a number of legislative instruments. One instrument, Mr. Speaker, is the fees and charges miscellaneous provisions instrument of 2019. Another one is the fees and charges amendment instrument 2013 LI 2206. So, Speaker, the fees are spelled out in detail in relation to each tertiary education institution. And I will just crave your indulgence to make reference to the items that constitute the build-up to the various fees. Mr. Speaker, page 1 of LI 2386 sets out the fees for Cape Coast Technical University, and it details every course. I'm just going to give an example using maybe just one course. The revenue items for HND Electricals, Electronics, fresh students, the fees include admission, 75.60 Ghana cedis, registration, 37.80 Ghana cedis, medical services, 75.60 Ghana cedis, medical examination, 97.65 Ghana cedis, Generator, water pump maintenance, 48.30 Ghana cedis. Examination fees, that's internal exams, 258.30 Ghana cedis. National Board for Professional and Technicians Examination, external examination fee, 65.52 Ghana cedis. Identity card, 20 Ghana cedis. Matriculation, 37.80 Ghana cedis. Student and library handbook, 34.2 Ghana cedis. Sports, 84 Ghana cedis. Verification of examination results, 18.90 Ghana cedis. Industrial attachment and supervision, 88.20 Ghana cedis. Acquisition of new computers, 25.20 Ghana cedis. Insurance cover for industrial attachment, 25.20 Ghana cedis. Laboratory equipment maintenance, 32.76 Ghana cedis. Library user fee, 31.50 Ghana cedis. Sanitation and waste management, 40.95 Ghana cedis. Project fees, development levy, 126 Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, these are some of the constituents of the fee builder, including, Mr. Speaker, Student Representative Council SRC fees, Student Representative Council fees and dues, 19.95 Ghana cedis. Entertainment fees, Mr. Speaker, 12.08 Ghana cedis. GNUP's dues, 15.75 Ghana cedis. Magazine, every student has to pay for a magazine, 12.60 Ghana cedis. Student Center, SRC hostel levy, 84.00 Ghana cedis. Constitution, 90.45 Ghana cedis. Association dues, 11.55 Ghana cedis. Association Lacoste, that is a cloth, a t-shirt, 26.25 Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, I have gone to great lengths to set out the items that the cost builder to the fees that the students are being charged, with the object of pointing to one thing, that it is perfectly possible within the context of this COVID economy for the universities to run without taking these fees, if these are the constituent components of the fees. The reason is that government is already paying the salaries and other emoluments of lecturers of the various tertiary institutions across the country, the staff, and government is also paying for their staff, and government has constructed the infrastructure. Granted that some of the universities on their own initiative are trying to develop additional structure, but it is perfectly possible that within the context of this year and the circumstances that we find ourselves, that levies related to ongoing developments at least be suspended for a 1-year period, just so that when students are able to get into the universities subsequent, when the situation improves, we can find ways and means of getting on track in terms of infrastructure development on the various university campuses. Mr. Speaker, there is no doubt that the COVID has affected negatively household incomes across sectors, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the hospitality industry, for instance, has been hard hit because a lot of hotels for most part of 2020 were not functioning. Even now that some of the hotels are trying to function, occupancy rates tend to be very low, and therefore the staff in the hospitality industry have been hard hit. Their incomes have been negatively and adversely affected by the COVID economy. Mr. Speaker, one mainstay in terms of source of income of most families in Ghana and West Africa has been remittances from abroad. And if you look at COVID, it has affected Europe and America to an extent where our own people there, their ability to remit back home has been negatively affected. And statistics and data that I have obtained indicates that in 2019, remittance was about 3.723 billion Ghana cedis. That is 2019. But 2020, Mr. Speaker, remittance came down to $2.832 billion, billion dollars, not Ghana cedis. And most families used to be able to support themselves from remittances from, family members who live abroad. And the economy itself used to survive largely also depending on such remittances as source of foreign direct transfers into our economy. Mr. Speaker, let me just take another example of how the incomes of certain sectors have been hard hit. Take private schools. I, before coming in, made a call to the leadership of the Association Ghana. Basic schools, private basic schools, are about 20,000 across the country. And for most part of 2020, these private basic schools have been shut down. And assuming that of the 20,000 private basic schools, each school has a basic worker force of, let's say, labor force of, let's say, 12 teachers and then caterers. You multiply that by the 20,000, and you can see the number of families that are deprived of income within the past, 1 year as a result of the impact of COVID. And Mr. Speaker, the borders have been closed. The land borders remain closed. Only the airport is open. And most constituencies that are border towns, their economies depend on being able to move in and out freely across the borders. With the border closure, the economies of constituencies such as mine, Boku Central, has been so hard hit, the COVID economy, that we are having situations where many constituents cannot just afford to pay fees. Mr. Speaker, government, no doubt, has taken measures to address some of the economic resulting from the COVID infections that have been visited upon this country. Huge amounts of money, Mr. Speaker, has been expended to try and revive industries. Huge amounts of money have been expended to try and provide households with water, with electricity. Huge amounts of money have been expended in the pharmaceutical sector to support industries in those sectors to be able to produce drugs and other essential medicines that will be needed within the context of the COVID environment. And huge amounts of money have been allocated for the construction of about 100 hospitals to support the COVID measures. Mr. Speaker, the government has done some things. But the reality is that as the President has directed that schools should open, many young people and their parents cannot afford to pay the fees to get in. There are those who have argued, Mr. Speaker, that there is a scholarship grant to be applied for by the students from the Student Loan Trust. True, Mr. Speaker, I have checked with the Students Loan Trust, and they give, on the average, about 2,500. The minimum is about 1,500, the maximum about 3,000. But the argument that I make is that you can only apply for the money after you are already in the school. And the Student Loan Trust system doesn't work in such a way that before you get to the school, with your admission letter, you are able to go and then access those funds. If indeed we have made arrangement for the students to access the loan trust facility, then why don't we, ab initio, agree that those who have obtained admission to tertiary institutions can come, and then subsequently the loan trust can release monies directly to the universities, which will then be applied to paying the fees of these students or reducing the fees that the students are supposed to pay. Mr. Speaker, it is on the basis of these developments that I urge colleagues to support this motion that the President be requested by this House to take urgent steps to suspend the application of the fee-imposing provisions of these LIs for a one-year period. It is only the President, given our current situation, who can take this urgent step. And it is urgent because, Mr. Speaker, it is urgent because this is when the admission letters have been sent. This is when the students are supposed to pay. Indeed, I have a copy of an admission letter which was issued to a student from the University of Ghana, and that admission the student 2 weeks within which to make that payment. And if the student does not make the payment within the 2 weeks period, then that student loses his opportunity to be admitted into the university. Mr. Speaker, for confidentiality reasons, I will not mention the name of the student, but this is a copy of an admission letter being offered to a student from the University of Ghana into the humanities, and the amount that the student is supposed to pay for the 2020-2021 academic year is 1,506 Ghana cedis. That is for the humanities. Mr. Speaker, I also have one from the same University of Ghana for a graduate student, and the amount that the student is supposed to pay is 10,601 Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, so in the humanities, the figures are smaller, 1,500. When you go to business administration, you go to the sciences, you go to the engineering fields, and the technical university, depending on the courses, they have varying fees. And then the law schools and the law faculties, they all have varying fees ranging between 1,500 up to 6,000 for the first degree. And then the graduate programs range, between 10,000 to 15,000, depending on the course that a student is offered. So, Speaker, parents are struggling to feed themselves and their children back home. They cannot even afford that. Jobs are being lost left and right, partly because of COVID, partly because of some previous measures such as the financial sector crisis, which just came before the COVID, and I'm by PricewaterhouseCoopers report that over 6,000 direct jobs were lost as a result of the banking sector crisis. So if you put all those losses cumulatively, Mr. Speaker, and direct jobs would hit over 30,000, 40,000 jobs. So, Mr. Speaker, I urge this House to support this motion to the President to suspend the application of this application this year of the fees and charges miscellaneous provisions instrument 2019 and the fees and charges amendment instrument 2013 LI 2206 for 1 year, so that students can go to school without having to pay upfront the fees that those regulations stipulate. So, Speaker, I hereby move in terms of the motion as set out and amended by myself and urge this House to support the motion. Thank you very much.
Honorable member over there, could you please put off your mic? Honorable members, any seconder? Yes.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I rise to second the motion moved by Honorable Mahama Ayariga that this House resolves to request the President of the Republic of Ghana to take urgent steps to suspend the payment of admission fees by new entrants into public tertiary institutions, education institutions, and continuing students of those institutions for the 2020-2021 academic year as part of the COVID-19 relief programs being implemented by government. And in doing so, Mr. Speaker, if we talk about tertiary education in this country, many people think it is only the universities. But if you look at other areas like colleges of education, nurses training colleges, and other institutions, they run tertiary programs. So the idea that it's only the public universities is not so. And so if you look at the area that is covered by tertiary educational institutions, now when one gets admission to any of these public tertiary institutions, there are three things involved. Mr. Speaker, the first is the academic facility user fee that the student is expected to pay to the institution. And that is what is normally approved by the fees and charges resolution or the LI. Then apart from that, the student is also expected to pay for residential facility that the student is going to use on campus. And that is also separate from the university charges. Then the third one is for the parents to prepare their wards to enter the school. That preparation alone is so high in cost that they need to buy a lot of items for their wards so that they can go into school. And that is one of the challenges that many parents face. So, Mr. Speaker, the motion as moved by Honorable Mahama Ayariga is in the right direction. That with the COVID-19 that we have suffered in the 2019, businesses have suffered, and many people became unemployed, and they are yet to recover. And as he said, if you look at even the border areas, as he mentioned, from like Akati North is a border town or a border constituency. Even people who want to go to their own farms are even prevented to cross the border to go to farm. And they find it very difficult to make ends meet. Even to carry food from their own farms across the border has become a challenge. And that is affecting economic activities in those constituencies. So it is very, very important that we resolve for the President to take this bold initiative so that the cost of education level this year or this academic year will be suspended. Mr. Speaker, if you look at the fees, some will give varying fees. Like if you look at the University of Health and Allied Sciences, they gave a fee of 4,180 Ghana cedis, 60 pesos. Then they say university charges 1,641.94. Then other approved charges 2,538.60. So you will see that what is approved by Parliament have bypassed it to charge other fees, and that is what parents are suffering. And we need to make sure that public tertiary institutions adhere to fees that are approved by this House. Mr. Speaker, one other thing which we need to look at carefully is the demand on members of Parliament school fees. This has become so high, especially this year, because of the COVID-19 effect on people. And reports that we have received from some districts and municipal assemblies is that some district chief executives are making it difficult for members of Parliament to access their common fund to support in the payment of fees. And that is very very bad. And I'll urge whoever will become the Minister for Local Government to make sure that DCEs are made funds to DCEs so that this MP-DCE conflict must stop somewhere. It is affecting development in our constituencies. Mr. Speaker, it is important, as I said, that we support this motion so that we can relieve parents, and I'm sure most of us here are suffering the same, so that government must suspend the payment of these fees for the 2020-2021 academic year. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Motion moved and seconded is now for the consideration of the House. I want to know from leaders any indication as to how many we should. 6. Time limits. 6.
Mr. Speaker, 4-4 will do.
4.
We've agreed on 4-4. Yeah.
4. 4, including leadership, excluding. So that is 5. This per members, 5 minutes each. Accepted. 5 minutes. I'm going to time. Yes.
This is a very strong and debatable issue of national interest. So if you increase the 5 minutes to 8 minutes, so that members can make meaningful contribution, I think it will serve the interest of this country.
My understanding is that we are going to admit 10 in total. The members will have 8 minutes each, and leaders will have 10 minutes each. 10 minutes each. Yes. Yeah, majority chief whip.
Thank you, Speaker, for the opportunity to speak to the motion moved. Speaker, the Honorable Ayariga, before he started, sought to amend the motion relative to the academic. I am not somebody who believes in semantics, but if you look at the motion critically, and Speaker, I want to quote with your kindness, that this House resolved to request the President of the Republic of Ghana to take urgent steps to amend the payment, to suspend the payment of admission fees by new entrants into public tertiary education institutions and continuing students of those institutions for the, as amended, for the 2000-2001 academic year as part of the National COVID Relief Program. Speaker, I've done some good checks, tertiary institutions, and particularly the universities. And it came out that we don't have anything as captured by your motion as admission fees. We don't have anything like that. We have academic user fee. So probably, the honourable member, in seeking to amend his motion, should have accordingly amended that portion. But granted, be that may, I still want to speak to it. Yes. So, Speaker, I seek your relief that this motion is flawed, is incompetent, and the honourable member should do the needful. And I implore you to dismiss it aside. Thank you.
Yes, honorable member for Wa Central. Yes,
Mr. Speaker, with respect, there is a motion before this House, and the majority chief, who just spoke, has raised a critical issue. It says to us that the member alludes to the suspension of the payment of admission fees. In the meantime, Mr. Speaker, in justifying the motion, he himself related to a tall order of fees. Mr. Speaker, my colleague is drawing attention that the motion as it stands in the name of the Honorable Muhammad Ayariga is flawed. Listening to the plethora of fees that he himself referred to, it cannot be admission fees. So, Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Majority Leader, I thought that you have to wait when it's your turn. You are not raising a preliminary objection. No, he opposed the motion and said it should be dismissed. He opposed the motion. He didn't raise preliminary objection.
Mr. Speaker, with respect, he said this motion as it stands is flawed and calls on you to make a determination on this. Mr. Speaker, in essence, is to, and then he used strong words, that this motion is incompetent. Which then would mean that, Mr. Speaker, you have to make a determination on the appropriateness or otherwise of this motion. In other words, he's raising a preliminary issue with respect to the competence or otherwise of this motion.
Honorable Majority Leader, the motion has been moved and seconded. It is now for the consideration of the House. The honorable member did not raise his point timelessly. Once the motion is moved and seconded, it's for debate. If the motion, before it's seconded, there's a preliminary objection raised, then I could rule on it as to whether it's competent or not competent. But as of now, the points that he put across will be part of the debate, and at the end of the day, I will put the question first on that before I go to the main substantive question. But as of now, I cannot rule on his preliminary objection because it's not timelessly raised.
Yes, Majority Leader. Right, Honorable Speaker, with respect to you, if a motion is moved in this House and it's not seconded, Mr. Speaker, that motion will not be properly before this House. It must be seconded, and once it's seconded, yes, as have, Mr. Speaker, a motion is moved, it is only after it has been seconded that the motion is proper before us. And then if anybody wants to raise a preliminary objection, that person can, Mr. Speaker, lead us. Otherwise, if a motion is moved and it's not seconded, Mr. Speaker, it is not before us. So, if you are saying that it is not timelessly raised, with respect to you, Mr. Speaker, I beg to disagree, and I invite you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I am not challenging the ruling. If you listen to me, Mr. Speaker, I'm only saying that by our orders, this indeed is the time for him to raise the matter. Mr. Speaker, I rest my case for the time being.
Honorable members, you know that I'm disabled by Order 90 from taking part in the debate before the House. Order 90, I read, Mr. Speaker shall not take part in any debate before the House. And I don't intend, and I will never intend, and I insist I will never take part in the debates. And so what I intend to do is to let us debate the preliminary objection that has been raised. Then I give a ruling. Then we can now move to a substantive motion. If at the end of the day, the ruling doesn't dismiss the motion. So let's debate now the issue that has been raised, that the motion before the House is incompetent and should be dismissed in limine. Now, the preliminary objection has been raised by the majority chief whip. And so I want to listen to the side of the minority as to what they have to say. Since you have moved the motion, you have a distance to reply, so you don't have to. Honorable Mama Yarga, you just have to bid your time. Let's listen to other members. Yes, Honorable Deputy Minority Whip.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. There's a motion before this House. And that motion, Mr. Speaker, was admitted by you. Mr. Speaker, by our rules of procedure, you are the sole person mandated by our rules for the admissibility of motions, of which you have done. Mr. Speaker, which motion did you admit? The motion is that this House resolved to request the President of the Republic of Ghana to take urgent steps to suspend the payment of admission fees by new entrants into public tertiary institutions and continuing students of those institutions for the 2021 academic year, 2020-2021 academic year, as part of the national COVID-19 relief programs being implemented by government. Mr. Speaker, what is incompetent about the text of this motion before this House? Let anybody prove it. Mr. Speaker, this was the motion that was submitted to you, and this is what you have admitted, and that is before this House. Mr. Speaker, are we now being told that there is nothing like admission fees being paid by students into our tertiary institutions? If yes, Mr. Speaker, that is what this motion is calling on the President of the Republic of Ghana to suspend. So, Mr. Speaker, for any member of this House who is a citizen of this country and lives in this country and has been paying admission fee as a member of Parliament and has been inundated with admission fees by his constituents, is now telling us that, Mr. Speaker, this motion is incompetent. Motions, the incompetence or competency of motions are judged by the text of the motion themselves. So, Speaker, the honorable member, Honorable Mama Yarga, the mover of the motion, in making his rendition, submitted to this House that he did to go into giving us exhibits of admission fees being paid into this country, and that he was just tendering some evidence of the sort of fees that are being paid. Are we saying that the components of those illustrations that he gave do not form part of admission fees
being paid by our constituents in our various tertiary institutions. Mr. Speaker, I hereby call on you that the motion you admitted, you did a very good job in admitting it. Mr. Speaker, it's before this House, and it is only you who can determine the competency or incompetency of this motion. The people that they are talking of, Mr. Speaker, does not form component of the motion. The motion is talking about admission fees, and every tertiary student in this country knows that there's admission fee being paid by students into our schools. Mr. Speaker, this is a known fact, and let somebody disprove it and let me see. Mr. Speaker, per this rendition or submission I have done, I therefore want to call on you to let the House proceed in debating the motion before us. Mr. Speaker, admitting that it's a very competent one, of course, and I know my honourable Dada, my honourable gentleman on the other side, who do agree with me that, Mr. Speaker, the motion is not incompetent at all, and the House must proceed with the debate.
Yes, Honourable Dr.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Former Minister for Education.
And the President's representative currently.
I have no notice to that effect.
Presidential Transition Act 54.
I have no notice to that effect.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Member of Parliament representing Bentia South.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaker, the first line of this motion is leading us into an absurdity. That this House passes a law. This House passes an LI. This House approves an LI, whose chairman at that time and brought to the floor to be approved is an honourable member who moved this motion. Mr. Chairman, Mr. Speaker, that first line says, this House resolves to request the President. The President has no locus. If it's not for populism, I would have said the person has dubious intentions. Mr. President, Mr. Speaker, it is this House. If you think this House has approved something that was wrongly done, you come up with it. You come with a motion of precision that since the House approved the subsidiary legislation, we can change it by voting with 2/3 members of Parliament to withdraw that approval. It is not the President. It is not the President. Speaker, the second point, Mr. Speaker, he read a tall list of academic facility user fees. It's instructive. When the former ranking member on the Committee on Education spoke, he talked about 3 main areas of fees: academic facility user fees, residential facility user fees, and others. He, as competent as he is, knows that the word admission fee is only one component of the academic facility user fees, which he, the mover of the motion, read a tall list to say that the President should only remove the admission fee, which is minuscule in terms of the fees total. He said 17. He's not the only one. He even brought in SRC News and Looks News. Meanwhile, he has brought SRC people here. Mr. Speaker, SRC is the students that decide on the SRC News. It's the students that decide on the SRC News. Now we are saying that after the students have decided on SRC News, the President is being requested not to approve the SRC News. The President has no power when this House has decided. The President has no power when this House has decided by subsidiary legislation to approve the fees. This motion, Mr. Speaker, is incompetent on the face and the value of everything. Where does the President come in? How how are we going to resolve to request the president when the power is in this house? When the power is in this house, bring a motion of rescission, and 2/10 members of this house will support it if it's appropriately done. This is the speaker. I beg to move that it should not be allowed, it should not be entertained, and it's an insult to this house. Thank you.
I see there are many more people who want to contribute, but you limited the number to 4 on each side, and I have so many of them, and you want more numbers for the preliminary before you go to the substantive.
Mr. Speaker, I thought you said this is preliminary issue before we go to the substantive.
Yes. So I'm asking, you want that to be different from the 4 each? And how many numbers? I have time for you.
Mr. Speaker, we've agreed on 3-3 on the preliminary issue.
Well, there will two more. Yes, Honorable John Jinapo.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, second termer in this Parliament, I have never in my life, Mr. Speaker, seen such a competent motion like this very one. Mr. Speaker, this is the most competent motion I've ever seen in my life.
A life-party motion.
Yes. It's not just competent. It is not just competent. It is relevant in contemporary Ghanaian economics as far as tertiary education is concerned. Mr. Speaker, my friend and senior colleague, the Honorable Matthew Pokum Prepe, who I shall be engaging in due course, stated that we should rather come on a motion of rescission. That is a completely different tangent, Mr. Speaker. Sure. We are not debating the issue of fees and charges. All the venerable, intelligent, learned Mahama Ayaraga is asking of, Mr. Speaker, it's simple, that this House, as a sign of magnanimity, as a sign of sympathy, and as a sign of empathy, and a sign of concern, should just make a request to His Excellency the President that given the suffering, cold hardship, and the impoverishment of the Ghanaian students, that His Excellency the President should consider suspending, just suspending, the issue of these fees. Mr. Speaker, if this is not a competent motion, then which other motion is competent? Mr. Speaker, I refer to what the Minister of Finance presented to us in respect of an update on the COVID situation. Mr. Speaker, this very House approved an amount of 1.2 billion from the Stabilization Fund, dollar equivalent of about 209. In addition to that, Mr. Speaker, we employed, this House took a decision that the Bank of Ghana should suspend payment of interest amounting to 1.2 billion, that the World Bank should be approached for an amount of 1.7 billion, that the IMF should be approached for an amount of 3 billion, and a reduction of GNPC's net and carried interest from 30% to 15%. Mr. Speaker, the President has had cause to announce the suspension of payment of water, suspension of payment of electricity. And so if this House decides that we want to employ on the President to equally suspend the payment of fees, why should this even bring contention? Mr. Speaker, with these few words, and seeing my senior colleague, my senior, Honorable Seche Mensah Bosu nodding his head, I am confident and certain that this motion is the most competent motion in the whole world.
Yes, Honorable Majority Leader, Honorable
Bujenapo is implored seriously not to bear false witness. John Bujenapo, not to bear false witness against his neighbor. He knows that is very, very unchristian.
Is he a Christian?
Yes, because he knows that is very, very unchristian.
Is he a Christian?
And very, very uncharitable.
Is he charitable?
Honorable Majority Leader,
can you do what is needful?
Honorable Majority Leader, were you nodding your head?
Mr. Speaker, I was not. Mr. Speaker, I was not. And indeed, I have not, I had not, I will not.
The Deputy Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I thank you for the opportunity to add my voice on the preliminary objection raised in respect of this motion before this House. Mr. Speaker, Order 54A talks about, and Mr. Speaker, with your leave, let me quote. The right to move a motion under this order is subject to the following conditions. The matter proposed for discussion must relate to a genuine emergency calling for immediate and urgent consideration. Mr. Speaker, I am inviting you to hold, in accord with the earlier call by my colleague, that this motion is incompetent, it is not properly before this House. The matter to as it relates is a matter that cannot be enforced by Mr. President. Mr. Speaker, and I will explain. The decision, fees and charges is not an executive decision. It's a decision backed by legislation. When my respected colleague,
Honorable Majority Chief Whip, the preliminary objection was not on procedural, it was substantive. Now you are adding procedural. No.
Mr. Speaker, perhaps you can consider us as ex-cathedra position.
Honorable, you are entitled so to do. But I just want to get you right so that we know that the objections you are raising is on both procedural and substantive.
Mr. Speaker, both on procedure and on the substance of the preliminary objection as raised. Mr. Speaker, I am further fortifying the position by referring to the Order 54A. That is why I decided to rely heavily.
I admit motion, and I considered all those orders before I admitted the motion. And so, on issue of procedure, you are entitled to disagree with me. That I have no problem. But I'm just drawing your attention to it. I see the Honorable former Minister for Interior, Honorable Ambrose Derry, itching to contribute. So just a minute, let me listen to him.
Right, Honorable Speaker. This motion refers to admission fees. Mr. Speaker, admission apply to new entrants only. Admission fees apply to new entrants only. Now, the motion says, Mr. Speaker, the motion says that also introducing continuing students. Mr. Speaker, let's try. We want a motion or resolution from here that will make an impact. And therefore, we should issue a resolution which would have weight. But this, number one, admission fee applies to only new entrants. Secondly, you are saying by the motion that it should be a relief program. Now, even under Order 50, is it a ministerial responsibility, an administrative responsibility? Why are you going to presidency? And if there's a program that has been brought to Parliament, is there still a gap? What is the impact on the budgetary situation? Or Mr. Speaker, I think that this motion is too important to have been moved in such a vague manner. It becomes difficult for this House, representing our people, this august House, to come out with a resolution that would, not amount to anything. So yes, the intention might be good, and I have no difficulty with any motion we move here. But what do we intend to achieve? There must be precision. And Mr. Speaker, I speak of so many years in this House. We cannot pass resolutions that are not worth the paper on which we put it. And if you look at this, there are so many unknowns that it becomes a problem. So, Mr. Speaker, I believe there's good intention. Can we at least ask that this matter be done in a manner that makes it easier for us to interrogate the issues better, in which case we think that as it is, we cannot deal with it effectively. You are asking for admission fees which don't apply to continuing students. The students here know admission fees, Mr. Speaker. And if we do it properly, we will then be able to tell whether under the government program there is provision for this to be taken off the students. But once we are bringing only admission fee, we are constrained. If the president has a program that has a way of settling it without COVID relief, is it not possible? Mr. Speaker, I think that this motion deserves better detail and better attention by this House. Let's not make it the usual two-sided argument. If there is a good intention, let us give adequate detail and deal with it effectively. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Actually, Honourable Minister, I thought you were raising on a point of order, but you've taken your back, and I decided to listen to you because you were raising some very important issues not on procedure. But I'll now listen to the Honourable Deputy Majority Leader. Yes, you may continue.
So, Mr. Speaker, if I may remind my colleagues of the terms of this motion, and at the risk of being repetitive, I would want the motion paper, the motion, the content as it is one more time to guide the basis upon which this motion is incompetent. That this House resolves to request the President of the Republic of Ghana to take urgent steps to suspend the payment of admission fees by new entrants into public tertiary education institutions and continuing students of those institutions for the 2021 academic year as part of national COVID-19 relief programs led by government. Mr. Speaker, the invitation that a resolution from this House will make would be for the President to suspend the payment of admission fees and payment of fees for continuing students. But, Mr. Speaker, question. When this House has passed a law, which law can we, by an executive fiat, direct that the executive should suspend the implementation of same? Honorable John Jinapor, in his argument, Mr. Speaker, yes, Mr. Speaker, with all due respect, this is a legal argument. Patience. Wait, patience, and listen. So jot down your point. Mr. Speaker, my colleague John Jinapor, in his submission, referred to a Bank of Ghana situation where the government directed that certain interests, those were not allies. Those policies, those decisions by Bank of Ghana are not one that would need to come to Parliament. In this case, what our colleague is inviting us to do is to invite the President of the Republic to suspend a law. What we are saying is that no, that cannot be done. That cannot be done in any way, Mr. Speaker, because the law subsists. You cannot suspend. If for nothing at all, Mr. Speaker, a motion must come properly before this House for this House to receive that LI and the provisions thereof, so that the very relief he is seeking could be met. In any event, Mr. Speaker, the government is at its formative stage. We know that this government has implemented a lot of COVID relief policies, programs. We have had free water, because it was not backed by LI. It's not an LI that determines water tariff. Please. Now, Mr. Speaker, we have had support to the private sector, which is within the ambit of the government. NBSSI is supporting the private sector. And mass work. Government has introduced several relief support programs, including school feeding to private schools. And Mr. Speaker,
Honorable Deputy Majority Leader.
Yes, Mr. Speaker.
One of your men is up on his feet. Maybe he has a point of order to raise.
Rightly so, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, may I respectfully ask you to refer to Article 297C, because these are legal issues that has fallen in this House. Mr. Speaker, with your kind permission, I respect like 297C of the Constitution on implied power. Where a power is given to a person or authority to do or enforce the doing of an act or a thing, all such powers shall be deemed to be also given as are necessary to enable that power or authority to do or enforce the doing of that thing. Mr. Speaker, this is a legislative instrument which was approved by this House. The processes of annulling an airline are well laid out under Article 11.7 of the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, all public universities are set out under statutes. There are statutes, there are regulations, which are all determined under the Constitution. So the motion before us, which my colleague and good friend is asking us to do, culminates from an airline which is properly so-called, which the universities or public universities are. Question is, has the president got the power to suspend?
Honourable member, I thought you were going to raise a point of order.
Under 297C, Mr. Speaker.
Point of order.
Right.
That cannot be a point of order. You are making a substantive submissions for the consideration of the House. Yes, Honourable Deputy Majority Leader, you may conclude.
Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, so all that the mover of the motion is saying is that we should invite the president to do what by law he cannot do. Not too long ago, Mr. Speaker, no less a person than the leader of minority leader, Honorable Harun Idrisu, questioning the conduct of the president in respect of Presidential Transition Act. He was questioning certain appointments. It means that they are on red alert in respect of the laws of this country. How then do you invite the same president to absorb fees, to suspend the payment, to instruct the universities not to charge? Mr. Speaker, this motion in its form and substance cannot be considered as that which is competent for the purpose of consideration in this House. Two, Mr. Speaker, under the same preliminary legal point raised by my colleague, the question again, Mr. Speaker, is a matter of appropriation. Mr. Speaker, if you say that the president should suspend the payments, who pays? And you know, Mr. Speaker, and you know that there must be an appropriation in support of this. You can't just get up and say that it should be waived. What is the fiscal impact of this on the economy? Ask yourself that question. Mr. Speaker, if indeed this motion is coming to this House in good faith, then, Mr. Speaker, one will expect the honourable member to wait for the government to appoint its ministers, government various options available to it as part of its relief programs. Bear in mind, Mr. Speaker, that government has already absorbed the fees of all secondary school students. We know this. So if it is within government mandate to support tertiary students, it will be so done. In any event, Mr. Speaker, if the mover of the motion is minded by the supporting argument in his motion paper, he would have realized that his motion was even being discriminatory. Why say because of COVID, parents are having difficulty raising money and that it is only public institutions? Only public institutions. So are you therefore suggesting that all other students in other tertiary institutions do not matter? Mr. Speaker, if you are raising a point in good faith, if you are good faith, anchor same within the remit of the law. And Mr. Speaker, what we are being told here is something so illegal which does not sit within our laws. Honorable Muntaka and Honorable Ablakwa.
Honorable member, your last word.
Very well. Mr. Speaker, not long ago had insisted on the Constitution that we should give full effect to the Constitution and other laws of this country. They were loud. Why would you endorse...
Honorable member, please don't use such unparliamentary words here.
I never said lying, Mr. Speaker. I said they were loud.
You said they were lying on radio.
No, Mr. Speaker, I never said. Mr. Speaker, that's not my line of language. I don't use those words. Never. Check the record. I won't use that. Never. No, you know me. You may disagree. You know my choice of words. I don't use those language. No. Mr. Speaker, they may disagree, but that is not me. This is not me. I don't say somebody is lying. I said that, Mr. Speaker, they won't keep quiet to listen. That's why they say loud is lie.
Honorable member, you are addressing me.
Mr. Speaker, I will plead with you to protect me.
I raised the issue. I raised the issue. And so you should address me.
Very well.
If you are saying that you did not use the word lying, but you used the word loud, you may continue. But I said your last word.
Very well. Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, let me bring to your attention a preliminary matter. Mr. Speaker, in our days at the back bench, when you were the majority leader, I recall that you said we have permissible heckling and we also have reckless heckling. Mr. Speaker, reckless heckling can obstruct debate. Mr. Speaker, and I will plead that whilst I am addressing you, I'm being obstructed, not into the mic, but the heckling is loud. And I don't know whether it passes for that your category, because you admonished us. We were there. And you said no. Heckling, yes, but it shouldn't be reckless.
Be sure that anytime the heckling is reckless, I'll call the person to order.
So please, very well. So, Mr. Speaker, I would oblige you by concluding that yes, he says my last word, so I will oblige him. Yes, that's the right way. Mr. Speaker, I must yield to your directives, your directions. Mr. Speaker, this thing. Mr. Speaker, accordingly, you are being invited under this preliminary legal objection to hold that the motion is very incompetent to the extent that by our resolution of same, it would lead to an illegality when that resolution is carried out by the president. Mr. Speaker, I so submit. Thank you.
Yes, are you on point of order, Minority Leader? Well, it's not your turn yet.
Mr. Speaker, if you would indulge me to share my view on the preliminary objection that is being raised and to see whether or not. Mr. Speaker, my colleague, the Whip, and the Deputy Leader have sought to reduce their preliminary objection to this rather competent motion to some procedural matters, and also to go further to state that why are we requesting the president and no other person but the president to take those consequential decisions.
Mr. Speaker, ideally, if I were to walk the path of law, equity looks into the substance and not the form. And therefore, would have been interested in the substance of this motion. And the substance of it is whether or not parents are struggling with fees or not, and whether or not the President of the Republic is clothed with authority, just as he did. Mr. Speaker, I simply would have asked my colleagues, who suspended the payment of water and electricity bills by Ghanaians? President Nana Addo Dankwa. Are there no laws governing those regimes? It is the President. Mr. Speaker, in this House, that's why I say I'll respond to you. We passed very important legislation, Imposition of Restrictions Act 2020, Coronavirus COVID-19 National Trust Fund Act 2013, Novel Coronavirus COVID-19 National Trust Fund Act 2020. Mr. Speaker, in all these instances, what the Honorable Mahama Yerga is seeking to do is for the President, if it is the decision of this House, to use his powers under the coronavirus legislation passed to free parents from payment of fees or to share the burden of fees. Mr. Speaker, simply our standing orders provide for amendment to motions. So the Honorable Ayerga can simply say, Mr. Speaker, the word admission in the second line of his motion be deleted, and we just deal with fees by new entrants. Nothing more. Mr. Speaker, he can delete just the words admission. And Mr. Speaker, this is not the first. On 14th August 2020, the House debated an important matter here. Before the question was put, the Honorable Chairman Sabonsu moved an amendment to the motion. So it is permissible if you will be reminded. Therefore, it is not about it being incompetent. It is about the decision we take as a House on this matter. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Member can just amend it in accordance with Order 83 and 78 combined of our standing orders. You can propose an amendment to a motion, and I've reminded the Honourable Osei Mensah Bonsu that he amended a motion. He knows he amended, so it's permissible. But to the deputy leader arguing, now why are we calling on the president? We won't call on you as deputy leader because you have no authority or mandate to help any parent or any student. You've raised an important matter, but that is debatable. Fiscal impact, those are the matters. So, Mr. Speaker, we should allow the debate to proceed. Then when we get to the question, on the motion, before you put the question, the Honorable Ayerga will do the needful by amending it. But fees, there is a burden on fees. And therefore the word admission can just be taken off the motion. Mr. Speaker, the motion has been moved.
Just before you conclude, yes, former Minister for Interior, what is the objection?
Honorable Speaker, I think that the minority leader has shown the way that this could have been solved by an amendment. But now, Mr. Speaker, a misconception. The President didn't suspend the fees. The President paid the fees on behalf of classes. So, for instance, when he says water is free, the government pays. But you are now asking that he should suspend. Now, Mr. Speaker, when you suspend, it does not involve payment. And therefore, this but you are dodging payment because it will bring a technical problem that you cannot do it. And let's be careful about it. So this is the point that we have to. We shouldn't play smart. Say pay if you are paying. There's financial implication, and then there's a technical problem. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, in concluding, as I have said, the word admission can be expunged, and the word suspend can be substituted with absolve. We are only calling on the President to absolve fees that are payable by university students and fees payable by parents. But we can look at those other matters related to it. But for him to argue, when Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia announced at the port that he was 30% on imported products, what was the basis for it? I rest my case, Mr. Speaker.
I thought the leaders agreed that they will have the last bite. But you want to reply?
I want to encapsulate, not to
encapsulate.
Yes. Mr. Speaker,
well,
I raised this matter because you wanted us to move on. And I said no, we needed after the motion. The motion will be right before us. And so anybody could thereafter raise preliminary issues. Mr. Speaker, you bowed to that and allowed us to raise the preliminary issues, which have been really articulated on both sides. So you may just indulge me. As I said, I just want to encapsulate. Mr. Speaker, the issue now is about the competence of this motion before us. And the Honorable Minority Leader is struggling and indeed stuttering to provide amendments at various places of the cuff of his head. Now he says that we should delete the word suspend and his please allow absolve.
Honorable, that's his contribution.
Yes.
The mover of the motion is there. I'll give you the opportunity.
So, Mr. Speaker,
I'll give him the opportunity.
I'm working with him on the narrow path.
Yes.
Mr. Speaker, then he says we should delete admission and then just say fees. It is the combined effect of his own acknowledgement that we are telling him that this motion is incompetent. Mr. Speaker, the principle being espoused, in my view, is a good one. And the House may want to be supportive of the principle. As to how to achieve it, is the reason we are raising these preliminary issues. Mr. Speaker, so other has not been responded to. Now, Mr. Speaker, our attention has been drawn to the fact that the Speaker is the sole judge of the admissibility of a question. Of course, it will include the admissibility of a motion, and that's covered by Order 66(1). However, Mr. Speaker, this House has a responsibility, especially the leaders, to assist you in maintaining law and order in this House. The Speaker also assisting that you make the appropriate rulings that come before you. Mr. Speaker, the motion reads, once again, that this House resolves to request the President of the Republic of Ghana to take urgent steps to suspend the payment of admission fees. Mr. Speaker, that is at the heart of this motion. In the meantime, the colleague who rose up referred to a litany of fees, which includes the admission fees. Mr. Speaker, the list that he read to us, I think about 17 fees that he referred to. And he implored this House to suspend the payment of those fees. The admission fee is just one component of the 17 that he mentioned. So what does he want this House to do? Mr. Speaker, there should be clarity going forward what he's urging this House to do. So it is the reason why we are urging him that if he wants to amend it, he could. But he should not lead this House on the path of unrighteousness. Which is why we are telling him that this motion, as it stands now, is incompetent. If he wants to amend it, as the minority leader has indicated, he has every right so to do. And then we'll be with him to debate the issue. Mr. Speaker, for now, and if he responds to it, above the list that he referred to, if I heard him right, the admission fee, I think it was about 8. Please, refer to it again. Is that the only one that you want to urge the president to suspend? I believe no. You want the broad consideration of the list that you provided us. I believe that is your intention. And if that is your intention, it's not so expressed in the motion. It's the reason why we are telling you that what we've done is inappropriate. So if you can't do what is needful, then we can start the substance, the debate of the substance. And I believe that the principle, as I said, is well understood and appreciated. If you do the needful, we'll see what to do. For now, the motion is completely off tangent in relation to his own intentions. The wording.
Honorable member, I see from your gesticulation that you think you are not catching my eye. Yes, what is it? A point of order?
Yes, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the majority leader is misleading. Mr. Speaker, when you apply for admission into the university, you are given an admission letter. Incorporated in the admission letter are fees, without which you are not admitted into the facility. And therefore, it is not wrong, Mr. Speaker, it is not wrong. It is not wrong to. It is not wrong because, Mr. Speaker, there are two types. Mr. Speaker, you either pay it or you are not admitted into the institution. You pay that or you are not admitted into the institution. So the issue about isolating some percentage of it as fees is not here nor there. The issue is suppose you are just playing with words. But the fact of the matter is that you need to pay this before you enter the facility, and that is the fees. Mr. Speaker, that is admission fees, because otherwise you will not attend lectures. You can go and sleep anywhere. If you go to KUMF, you can sleep at KJTR and attend lectures. You don't need to pay, what do you call it, a hostel fees. It is not compulsory. But any of whatever he has listed is compulsory, without which you will not be allowed to enter the facility. And that is admission fee, and that is what is indicated on the letter. So it is not wrong, Mr. Speaker,
Majority Leader, you may continue.
Mr. Speaker, with respect to my colleague, I will not really relate to this plea for mercy submission. I will not relate to the plea for mercy submission. Mr. Speaker, the point that we are making is this, and he himself alludes to it, that once you are admitted, right, you are required to pay fees. Mr. Speaker, the issue is those fees that are listed, are they admission fees? That's where you are wrong. That's where you are wrong. That's where you are wrong. Mr. Speaker, the honorable member himself listed to the hearing of all of us, and he included the admission fees as just a minute component. You can say no. You can say no because you didn't hear. You can say no because you didn't hear, my colleague. So if he could go through it again for all of you to hear, it's just a minute component of the user fees. And I believe he means the user fees. Mr. Speaker, he is saying it's academic user fees. Mr. Speaker, so my friend should not attempt any litigation on this. The thing is listed for all of us to hear. It's not your opinion that matters. It's what is legal, stated by the university. That is what we are debating. It's not your own personal opinion, with respect to you, Mr. Speaker. So I think, as I said, the colleague, the Honorable Ayariga, means more than the admission contained in his motion. And I think that he can carry the house with him if he does the proper thing. Mr. Speaker, that is what we entreat him to do, and then we move on. For now, he must admit that the motion as it stands is incompetent.
Yes, Honorable Mama Yaga, the mover of the motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the Chief Whip of the Majority Group and the Deputy Leader of the Majority Group have jointly raised some objections and been supported by the Leader of the Majority Group. And in arguing the objection, the preliminary objection, two issues stand out, if I heard them clearly. One is that they have no issue with the substance of what the motion is going to be about, which is to address the plight of students who are being admitted into public tertiary institutions or who are continuing as students of tertiary institutions. What they claim to be having issue with is the clarity of the language in which the is being expressed. Mr. Speaker, can we deal with the clarity of the language? This is a standard admission letter from the University of Ghana. Mr. Speaker, the letter reads, Mr. Speaker, I write to offer you admission to the College of Humanities, University of Ghana, to pursue a 4-year full-time course of study leading to the award arts degrees. That's paragraph 1. Then paragraph 4 then says that the fee for the Bachelor of Arts program for the 2020-2021 academic year is 1,516 Ghana cedis. The fee. Mr. Speaker, so the fee is to admit you into the University of Ghana. The fee is to admit you into the University of Ghana. I do agree with them that if it comes to the portion of the motion relating to continuing students, it will be helpful for purpose of clarity to precede that by amending the motion to read, continuing line 3, fees by new entrants into public tertiary institutions and fees of continuing students of those institutions. That gives clarity to the motion. So, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, Mr. Speaker, pursuant to order 78, pursuant to order 78D of our standing orders, order 78D of our standing orders, which permit a motion to be amended without having to give notice, and with your indulgence, Mr. Speaker, I will seek your indulgence to amend the motion to read, and if you permit me, let me provide the full rendition of how the motion will read. Mr. Speaker,
Honorable member,
the new rendition.
Honorable member, just a minute. Yes. Honorable former Minister for Works and Housing.
Honorable Speaker, what was foundational, and I thought you would answer that first, before he goes into the areas of amendment and the rest of them, is to ask to whether this House, having been invested with legislative powers, which culminated in an instrument on fees and charges, can persuade the President to suspend those fees and charges now by this point. Foundationally, this is what he should answer. Yes. The rest of the matters of amendment are of no consequence. If he cannot address the fact that when we have concluded our matters, there is no other authority that can tinker with what we are doing, that is where the incompetence lies. The rest of them are of no moment. So with the greatest respect, if he doesn't address this fact, with all respect to him, he cannot rehabilitate what is a foundational constitutional flaw in what he's attempting to do. You cannot use any language, semantics, to try and make the President the one who can review our orders. No, the President can't do that. So you are trying to say that a man should be pregnant. That is what we are saying. A man cannot be pregnant. Oh, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, a number of issues were raised by them, and I'm serious. The one has to do with the language of the motion, how we can structure the motion in such a way that there is clarity. That is the first issue that I am addressing, and that's an issue that the Honorable Ambrose Derry forcefully pointed out, that if this House is to communicate to the President by way of a motion, that motion must be very, very clear in the language. And my understanding is that members on the other side don't understand this motion as rendered. I believe that parents sitting out there, students sitting out there, payers of admission fees sitting out there, understand this motion very, very clearly. But those who are against this motion are pretending that the language of the motion is not clear enough. Mr. Speaker, to satisfy them, first one to order 78D, Mr. Speaker, I seek to amend the rendition, Mr. Speaker, to amend the rendition of the motion to read, Mr. Speaker, that this House resolves to request the President of the Republic of Ghana to take urgent steps to suspend the payment of fees by new entrants into public tertiary institutions and fees of continuing students of those institutions for the 2020-2021 academic year as part of the national COVID-19 relief programs being implemented by government. Mr. Speaker, the argument has been made by the other side that the fees and charges regulations having already been passed by this House, the only way to deal with it is a motion of rescission. Mr. Speaker, a rescission motion cannot set aside an LI that has already been enacted. A rescission motion cannot set aside an LI that has already been enacted. Mr. Speaker, the only person on whose behalf a policy measure can be introduced in this House that sets aside a financial instrument is the President. So once it is already a tax, then it is who can take steps to set aside the regulation by introducing in this House another LI suspending the application of the fees for 1 year, and that can be an amendment to the existing LI. That is the only way that it can be done, and that is why the motion is not asking the president to suspend the fees.
Honorable member, just a minute. Just a minute. Please, strictly on a point of order. If there is a point of order, kindly allow him to conclude. Then I'll give my ruling. Please. Point of order, okay.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, our colleague seeks your leave to amend his motion paper, and anchors it on Order 78D. Mr. Speaker, this is what Order 78D reads. Speaker, we may go there. 78D. Unless any order otherwise provides, notice shall be given of any motion which it is proposed to make, except the following. D. A motion to amend a motion which no notice is required, or which is debated 24 hours after notice has been given. Mr. Speaker, the point here, clearly. No, please. 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 Mr. Speaker, please.
It's a wrong order on notice.
Mr. Speaker, our colleague came on notice.
Yes. You came on notice.
He came on notice.
So 78.
So if he now takes refuge under 78D, Mr. Speaker,
Any habitation.
we cannot entertain that amendment under 78D. In any event, unless he wants...
Honorable member, he did not come on notice.
Oh.
He did not come on notice. This motion was not on notice. Please. Honorable Mama, you may conclude.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, I made, during which I was interrupted, was that...
Honorable Majority Leader, you know when you are on your feet, it's difficult for the Speaker to deny you the opportunity. And so you use it sparingly. Sparingly. Yes, but you can go on.
Okay. Mr. Speaker, the reference made by my colleague, the Deputy Majority Leader, to Order 78D, and you quickly jumped in by way of ensuring order in the House, that our colleague, the motion did not come on notice. So, Mr. Speaker, what is not on notice if it is published in the order paper? The Speaker, order 69. 1. Indeed, there's no 69.2, so I just relate to 69. Where matters coming to this House that come without notice are described, the process and procedures are described. The Speaker, Order 69 provides, as soon as a question is answered in this House, any member, beginning with the member who asked the question, may, without, ask a supplementary question. That's the form of coming to this House without notice.
It came
Mr.
under
Speaker,
52 on the notice, or the bar 52.
Mr. Speaker, I'm just saying. Mr. Speaker, I'm just saying that he used the phraseology without notice. And then you came in to say that he came without notice. And I'm saying that the form of coming to this House without notice is described in 69. And in that case, yes, 69. Mr. Speaker, and
Honorable member, this motion that is before you as private members' motion has been admitted for debate by the Speaker is not on notice. Because of the importance of the subject matter, I decided yes to inform the House to prepare for the debate today that I had admitted this motion. It has a very serious and important matter for the country, and I wanted members to prepare to come and debate it. Yes, but I admitted it as an urgent motion, not on notice.
Mr. Speaker, exactly what I wanted to hear from you, because you said it was admitted without notice. And that's why I came home with this, because, Mr. Speaker, the honorable member's submission to you, he says he is submitting the motion to you for prior approval in terms of order 52 and 52 provides. 52, the Speaker provides that 52 provides that a member who desires to make such a motion shall, before the commencement of session, submit to the Speaker a written notification. The Speaker, a written notification. Yes, the Speaker. So that is, the Speaker, it is a reason. This is the reason why, if you remember, in the new orders, I was proposing that we should have greater clarity on this. Because when you say it comes without notice, how it should conform is prescribed under 69. And my colleague, the deputy whip for the minority, was saying that it's 66. I was submitting to questions. Yes, the format is prescribed under the admissibility of questions. Otherwise, why did you say that the sole judge of the admissibility of a motion is the Speaker? When you quoted from 66, 66, that suited you. God bless you. The Speaker, that is in respect of the admissibility of questions, and we extend it to motions as well by our own practice. So that's why I was drawing attention that we should be a bit careful on that. But that, to say that he came without notice, it's a difficulty to accept. He came on notice, and without notice is rising on your feet, and it's only with the approval of the Speaker. And this one, it came with notification. He came on notice.
Honorable members, Order 50 deals with specific matters of urgent public importance. And this is a matter of urgent public importance. The procedure is what has been laid out in 51, 2, 3, and 4. And that is to the Speaker. I have not been given unfettered discretion. I have been given a discretion clearly laid out that in exercising my discretion, I must comply with the following, and they are in 54. And I've done that. It is for the House to note that even before that, I had to look at the whole of 50. And then the other standing orders, 78, 79, and all relevant standing orders before I admitted the motion. And you know what a motion is. It's a proposal. It's a proposal. And I believe it's important for us to encourage members to come by private motions raising issues that are urgent for the consideration of the whole country. Now, admittedly, because schools are reopening, and there is this issue of payment of fees. I admitted it because he said admission fee with an S. And I myself have read the letters to students, admitting students. And that same terminology is what is used there. It's not admission fee, it's admission fees. Well, I'll allow the honorable member to conclude. I'll give the ruling on the preliminary objection on procedure and then also on the substance.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, the other grounds for opposing the competence of the motion is that we are asking the President to suspend the enforcement of the law. Mr. Speaker, that's not what the motion says. The motion says to request the President of the Republic of Ghana to take urgent steps to suspend. What are those steps? For him urgently to bring an LI here for us to admit amending this LI. That's one of the urgent steps. Speaker, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, so it is within the discretion of the President to take those steps. So I'm not, by this motion, asking the President to suspend the application of a law, but to take the steps leading to the application of the law. Mr. Speaker, I think at this preliminary stage, the issue before you is whether or not, because we're not even going to the substance yet, the issue before you is whether or not this motion is competent or incompetent. And the deciding factor for the competence of the motion is whether or not the motion has been properly admitted by you in accordance with Order 50 or not. And if any indication is to be taken seriously, the indication you have given that you have seriously considered and you have yourself carefully read the text of the motion, and that it is based on your careful reading of the text of the motion and your analysis of Order 50 that has led you to admit the motion. Any challenge to the motion now constitutes a challenge to a decision of Mr. Speaker. Yes. That is in fact what you are seeking to do. You can debate the motion, you can say you don't agree with it, you can vote against it, you can walk out, you can tell Ghanaians across the country that they are not suffering, that you don't care about the fees that they have to pay, those things. But you cannot say that the motion is incompetent. So, Mr. Speaker, I urge you to rule against the plenary objection and allow us to continue and debate the substance of the motion. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable members, I have listened to both sides of the House. I have listened to the submissions of everybody, and I'm very clear in my mind that this motion is properly before the House. Honourable members, I'll give 4 reasons for this ruling. But I looked at Order 50, which deals with motion on specific matters of urgent public importance. And I looked at Order 53, which deals with order of business. I also looked at Order 79, 78 to 85, and all other relevant orders in the standing orders of Ghana. I even sought legal advice, and I had a written legal advice to me. The motion was submitted. To admit a motion of this nature, you must convince yourself that the motion is competent and relevant. Again, I'm guided by the standing orders to make sure that the motion is urgent public importance. Honorable members, I took the trouble to go through all this. The motion was submitted to me in Article 2, which says a member who desires to make such a motion, that is a motion on specific matters of urgent public importance, shall, before the commencement of the sitting, submit to Mr. Speaker a written notification and statement of the matter to be raised. This was submitted to me, and the intention was to be taken yesterday. I looked at the importance of the motion, and I said, no, that will be springing surprise on the House. This is a very important matter. And I came here to inform you that I have received this, I have admitted it, but I will not permit it to be moved yesterday. I wanted all of you to prepare for us to debate it today. That is the discretion I exercise. If you have a problem with that one, the rules are clear as to what you could do. So the motion is properly before the House, and as I said, I will submit a written ruling on this matter. As to whether the motion is competent, you all know what a motion is, clearly defined by outstanding orders. Motion means a proposal made by a member, parliament, or a committee thereof, do something, order something to be done, or express an opinion concerning some matter. That is the definition of motion in outstanding orders. This private member's motion before us simply says that this House resolves to request the President of the Republic of Ghana to take urgent steps to suspend. The motion is not saying suspend. It says to take urgent steps to suspend the of admission fees by new entrants into public tertiary education institutions, continuing students of those institutions for the 2021, and in moving it, he amended it to 2020-2021 academic year as part of the national COVID-19 relief programs being implemented by government. The word is not just program, he said programs. So I considered it, admitted it as a competent motion for the House to express its opinion and decide or reject the motion. It is not for me to take that decision. It's for the House to do so. And you all know that this House has, on a number of occasions, amended the motions and took out all the words, but retaining that this House, and then all the other words are deleted, and in their place, new phrases number of times And so if you have problem with the wording of the motion, you are completely to amend it. You cannot say because of the choice of words, the motion is incompetent before the House. Some of you raise issues about law that you cannot call on the President to suspend the implementation of an instrument. It's not what the motion is seeking to do. The motion is seeking to urge the President to take steps to suspend. And definitely, we in this House don't initiate instruments, whether constitutional, legislative, or executive instruments. They are done by the executive authority of the nation. And we have an executive president. That is why in Article 58 of the Constitution, it is very clear that all other bodies, including ministers, act for and on behalf of the president, where the executive authority resides. That is very clear. And so please, this motion has been properly admitted. It is properly before the House. It is competent. And you are hereby called upon to debate it, take the decision. You can reject it or you can adopt it, with or without amendments. I repeat, I will submit a ruling, written ruling in this matter. Thank you so much. Honorable members, yes, once the Deputy Majority Leader is up on his feet, I can't deny him. Yes, what is it?
Mr. Speaker,
what motion before?
Mr. Speaker, first, we are grateful to you. But Mr. Speaker, in concluding, you are
Which conclusion is that?
Mr. Speaker, of your statement.
My conclusion.
Yes, please. Mr. Speaker, in your conclusion, you have said we should proceed.
Are you talking about in my ruling?
It is so. Okay. Mr. Speaker, because you said your full ruling, that's why I'm careful in my choice of words. So, Mr. Speaker, in your ruling, you use some veritable words which will guide us in future. Fine. But, Mr. Speaker, you have said that we should proceed with the debate, with or without the amendment. But, Mr. Speaker, I would want us to guide us further, because now that the motion has been admitted and you have made a determination on the competence of the motion, we need to know what we are debating on, because the mover of the motion has with. So I wanted the motion paper to be restated to guide us, because, Mr. Speaker, at this moment, with the greatest respect, Mr. Speaker, you have been guiding all of us. We cannot debate the original motion because he himself has amended. So we want him to read the motion aloud. If we can get an addendum, other paper, or he can read it aloud for all of us to capture exactly what we are going to debate. Mr. Speaker, it's very important. I thought I should let you know. Thank you.
If it had been a court of law, we have invited both sides to approach the bench. Unfortunately, that is not the situation here. But I've given clear indication as to how we should go about this matter. I believe that the message has sunk and the proper thing will be done. If it's not being done, I'll come back to guide the House. Honorable members, clearly from the debate, the subject matter has been accepted to be very important, very weighty. The issue is asked to the wording of the motion. And so I am leaving it to the mover of the motion.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I have listened carefully to your ruling and your analysis of the wording of the motion. And it is my position now, Mr. Speaker, that with your leave, the new rendition of the motion will be as follows.
Honorable member, just not my leave and the leave of the House, because it was moved and seconded and is now before the House. So you need to crave their indulgence to at least accommodate what you are going to do. So you need their leave, a leave of the whole House.
Mr. Speaker, by your leave and the leave of the House, Mr. Speaker, the rendition now will be that this House resolves to request the President of the Republic of Ghana to take urgent steps to suspend the payment of fees by new entrants into public tertiary education institutions and fees of continuing students of those institutions for the 2020-2021 academic year as part of the national COVID-19 relief programs being implemented by government. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. Speaker,
Honorable member, just a minute. I want to get the wording of the motion.
Yes, we have clarification as well, if he's bringing the wording. Mr. Speaker, he listed 17 items. And he listed, please listen carefully, and he listed for only one technical university's fees.
Actually, he listed more than 17.
Yes.
He listed
and
more
so,
than
Mr.
17.
Speaker,
Yes.
in order to guide us properly, he needs to state which items of which fees. Because when you said Lacoste, when he said Lacoste, or for that matter, SRC dues, or for that matter, GNUP's dues, state clearly which fees want to be suspended, so that the SRC people know that you came here to say they shouldn't pay fees. The GNUP's people will know that you said they shouldn't pay fees. State it all so that we can support the amendment.
Honorable members, the amended private members' motion reads as follows: that this House resolves to request the President of Ghana to take urgent steps to suspend the payment of fees by Honorable members, I take it again that this House resolves to request the President of the Republic of Ghana to take urgent steps to suspend the payment of fees by new entrants into public education institutions and fees of continuing students of those institutions for the 2020-2021 academic year as part of the national COVID-19 relief programs being implemented by government. Yes, former Minister for Education.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, that is my point. Fees is very, very broad and general. The proposer of the motion himself restricted himself to only even 17 examples of one university he brought. It would be so unfair, Mr. Speaker. Example, he said the technical university fee, he said, included 16.9 or 12.9 cedis for Lacoste. He said it included SRC fees, it included Genome's fees, it included other fees. Mr. Speaker, that is why the honorable member, the ranking member, former ranking member for Education Committee said that in the universities there are two broad categories of fees. The academic facility user fees, for which he stated some, and the residential facility user fees. When you go and stay in Lagos Commonwealth Hall, you pay residential facility user fees. It is also included as fees in the university. So is that also being a station that we should also suspend that? That is why, Mr. Speaker, I said the honorable member would do us good if he's the fees category he wants us to suspend. Because it's absurd to say that somebody has gone into a private hostel or University of Ghana campus. It's the University of Ghana, it's operated by university, but it's a private hostel, and his fees should be suspended. Yes, it's absurd. And so, even though I could agree with you on some of those items, he needs to state at least some of those things he wants. It is the 1,500 that he wants, because when he reads that same letter, if he tables it and reads, there are non-refundable aspects of those fees he read. In that same letter he quoted, some are non-refundable, some are refundable. So there are different types of fees. So tell us, it will just help the debate, but just saying fees, that is another one.
But honorable member, that is what this whole debate is about. Actually, I put down about 30 items from what he read. And so it's for the House to say that, no, we cannot agree to all this. We may resolve on 2, 1, whatever, but he's putting across to the House to take a decision and resolve. That is what this debate is about. And so, please, if you want us to suspend sitting for some time, I'll be more than willing to do that. Because it's not healthy to sit at one place for more than 3 hours. It's now more than 3 hours since we've been glued to our seats. So I'll be more than prepared to suspend sitting for 1 hour. Honorable Mama Ayaga, why are you on your feet?
Mr. Speaker,
Honorable members, I got an indication from leadership that in view of the nature, important nature of the subject matter, space should be provided for the House to go and consult and reconsider the wording of the motion to be specifically on some fees, not the whole fees, specific. By tomorrow, we could have a healthier debate. But I want to take this opportunity to commend members. This is an indication as to what will happen for these 4 years. And it is very good for the development of democracy in Ghana. I will give you ample space to debate issues on the floor of the House. So, honorable members, I'm tempted to adjourn the House. Honorable members, the House is accordingly adjourned till Thursday, 21st January 2021 at 2 I want to get the reaction. At 2 in the afternoon. The House is adjourned.